Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of the 2019 Opus Magnum tournament recap. Um, I'm here again with Zorflax at the comms, and
Howdy, howdy.
we're going to discuss a lovely puzzle. Uh, Definitely no maligned reputation, well designed in every way. It's wire forming and unforming, which, if the title didn't give it away and my intonation didn't give it away, this is actually kind of a bad puzzle. But it's I can't really say that's the worst puzzle I've ever made. I feel like there's better contenders for that, but it does a lot of interesting things. Definitely too much for its position in the tournament. Um, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me give the rundown of what this is about, and then maybe I'll think about it more as we go along. But yeah, so trademark of RPO puzzles is apparently having two infinites, and I was pretty big into the two atom reagents at the time. I know we joke about that being a Zorflax staple, but it's great having two atom inputs. They're so annoying to use and everything. But in designing this, I wanted to make it as easy as possible to use those reagents. So you'll notice in the big iron output and the disposable output, the input, the two reagents goes directly into both of those. So it's simple in that way, but it tends to be a much more complicated puzzle. There's also a mechanic called recycling that this was inspired off of, and that's why it has that awful title, wire forming and unforming. But we'll talk about that when we get to an example of that, rather than just diving into it.
This is the recycling idea though. I do have to give props for the idea itself because it is such a unique idea and you don't ever really see it. I can't think of a single puzzle in a single tournament after this one that ever revisits the idea of like real recycling, of just like having a completed product go over an infinite and then just like grabbing that again and using it for some other output entirely. It leads to some unique situations, and I kind of I don't know. I'm always like a glutton for like exploring weird and wacky ideas. In case people haven't like seen my tournament videos where I do exactly that the entire time, as well as the two atom input thing, which I also respect. But yeah, this recycling link idea is a very unique, creative one. So I mean, I guess I wasn't there at the time and didn't have to cycle optimize this thing, so I didn't hate it. But maybe that's speaking from a place of ignorance.
Yeah, I find if anyone wants to give a go at designing a recycling puzzle, I think you'll go through the same hell I did. Like, this was not easy to get to even this not great state. So like, feel free, give it a try. Try to make recycling a good mechanic in your puzzle. It's not easy, but it's also pretty fun. So I'm glad I tried it. I regret the timing of when I put into the tournament.
Right on week 2.
Really make sure to drop those submission numbers. But I was young and dumb, and I learned about a mechanic, and I wanted it to be in it, and damn, did I force it in.
It was mistakes like these that like future tournament hosts like me would learn from. Because like thanks to this kind of thing, I knew like stuff like Crytelium and Latchuk Fireworks needs to go at the end of a tournament and not at the beginning. And I would not have known that like intuitively. I would not have figured that out. Someone needed to learn that one the hard way, and that person happened to be RPO.
Oh well, that's just how it goes.
All right. So we're going to start with cycles, and just as a general qualifier for this and future videos, we'll be doing more or less the same metrics every week. So it's always cycles cost, area cycles, cost area, and some variation of sum. So we'll get to the sum variation when I cover sum, but for the time being, we will start with cycles. In 10th place, clocking in with 68 cycles, we have Tweedledee.
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 Who gave a serious attempt at recycling. Okay. So I guess this is a great attempt, or a great time to explain what recycling is. In Opus Magnum, to verify a polymer infinite input, you just need to cover the entire glyph with the required atoms, and then the game says, you've done it, you're good, you can now move on. This means that all the atoms that have been on that glyph are done with, so you can just do what you will with them. So in this puzzle, you can create that first iron output and then use its results to create the other infinite output and the normal output, and it'll work out quite well for you. The reason why this is challenging to devise as a thing to do in a puzzle is that, if you'll notice, polymer outputs are long. So the amount of time you spend just tracing that over means you're losing a bunch of cycles, particularly in the cycle metrics, just moving that across. And even though you'll have good throughput, it's going to create a problem for you actually getting the rest done speedily.
So the solver's already at like max throughput. This is already grabbing as fast as possible, and the math does neatly line up. This is the big long like main polymer essentially, and you do need, like, looking at the inputs, like the amount you need. So like 2 of these inputs leaves you with 1 iteration of the polymer and some spare salt. And that's why you see 2 pipelines here, not 1, which says the salt at the bottom. So after all this is used, 2 sets of inputs also quite cleanly gives you 1 output of the non-polymer and also 1 part of the copper chain. So the math does work out quite neatly for this recycling idea. So the puzzle is very deliberately encouraging this.
Yes, I can confirm I did this. It did not magically end up this way. So I applaud Tweedledee for actually doing what I named the title of this puzzle to do. As you may guess, it's not a good strategy in terms of cycles. We'll see about the other metrics later. But
yeah, you can see it, like, by the time the main polymer gets to the debonding station and these 2 start to, like, be formed, it's already cycle 32.
yeah, starting to make your last product at cycle 32 is just, it's a little late. Very high latency,
But it is easy to criticize this solve, despite the fact that this kind of, like, immediately scared away every casual solver that had submitted to week 1. So there are straight up 0 casual solvers in the mix at all. Tweedledee is no casual. Tweedledee is great at cycles and min rate stuff.
he's a top 10 player in this case, so.
True. So yeah, it is tryhards only past this point, which I say with affection. All right. In 9th place, dropping down to 63 cycles, we have Chickens in the Attic.
All right, let's see.
So we essentially have like 2 different machines.
Okay, I think he does proper recycling here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So here, just a little swing to validate the polymer. and we're going to swing it back and start the second part.
Now, I'm glad people took cues from what I named this puzzle and how they chose to solve it, but don't do this, any future people. Don't name your puzzle after the mechanic you intend for them to perform, because they'll make them to do it. They'll be misled. But look at that. Everyone loves rotating a giant molecule and putting it back and doing stuff with it. Yeah, very, very clean recycling implementation.
See, you can see like the difference between this and Tweedledee's solve is right at the start here, because this gets validated on cycle 26 and is on the debonder on cycle 27, which is 5 cycles faster than what Tweedledee did it, and is in fact the cycle count that he beat Tweedledee. So that's the entire difference here. The second part of the machine has the exact same latency as Tweedledee's.
Yeah, it's...
I like
it
I like the loop. I like the extended loop.
It's pretty good. One thing I'll mention, just so that the audience knows, you can't rotate the infinite products. That's why they're always straight. It's one weakness of having multiple infinites in a puzzle. If there's just one, you can rotate your entire solution to fit, but if you ever wanted those guys going in different directions, then you can't do that in the game.
So I can rotate the entire rest of the solve, but yeah, these two always have to be the same, like relative to each other. They both have to line up in this one particular horizontal. So that is probably the main restriction of this multiple polymer idea. All right.
But yeah, good solve.
In 8th place, dropping down a single cycle to 62, we have SGS.
SGS, who I believe did the cost and area metrics last week.
Yes.
So you got that. People prioritizing metrics that they either think will be harder or easier to work with.
That's kind of the interesting metagame aspect of this tournament that you won't see in other tournaments. You do actually have to like make the choice on which metrics you like want to dedicate your time to and what you actually want to submit to. So actually, over the last week, I got DM'd by Pentapig with solves that were left that he had made but decided not to submit. We won't see any this week, but in future weeks we'll get a few like, here's a non-submission that might have won the entire thing, but Pentapig had no way of knowing, so he didn't submit it. Kind of situations that pop up.
Yeah, that I always felt bad about that because Pentapig is a very good player in many metrics, but at the time he felt his best metrics and his best chance was to avoid the looming giant of Biggie Mac 42 and instead work on metrics that were better for him. So he would often make these very good solves that never saw the light of day. So I'm glad we'll at least cover them for this recap.
And of course, Biggie never submitted for area because she just didn't want to embarrass everyone on her best metric.
Of course, of course. One thing to mention about this solve, it's not doing the recycling thing. So you can already see how we're getting benefits on these cycles despite not doing the mechanic that was intended here. So
this is quite interesting because the thing about the recycling idea that cycles doesn't like that a low cycle count hates is that if you use the same material for the main polymer and then immediately reuse all of that for the other outputs, you have to do that sequentially. So you have to spend time validating and then you get to the other ones. And that's just if you don't pull any extra inputs to do anything else. So this is the first solve that ignores that idea by going, you know what, while I'm outputting this polymer, I'm just going to pull the inputs for all the other parts and just like generate extra material.
And why not? It creates a little waste with that salt chain there, but the ratios are pretty good overall, and you get there a little faster.
I guess the one thing that you might eyeball is that because I'm pretty sure SGS is just grabbing like one set of inputs to the main polymer and one set of inputs for everything else. So it's a clean 50-50 split. Doing it as a clean 50-50 split means you generate this waste salt at the bottom under the polymer. And this isn't actually going towards any outputs at all. This is just pure, like, waste.
Yeah, you definitely have room to reclaim that, but it's not done here.
Alright. Moving down in 7th place to 61 cycles, we have Faindeer.
Going down cycle by cycle.
New submitter, new name for this part of the tournament, because he didn't, I don't think he realized that there was a tournament when week 1 was happening.
Yeah, I think that's how that worked out. Faindeer, of course, the legendary developer of the leaderboard, our modern ZLBB, now maintained by IE. Great cycles player. Never in the pantheon of the very top, but...
Unless the metric was cycles with area secondary, then he absolutely popped off.
I mean, I do love a good CA self.
Yeah, competitively, that's how I remember him. I remember if it was CA in particular that came up, he would just become an absolute weapon.
There's also a different metric that he was surprisingly good at, but I can't remember right now. If the chat was here, they would let us know. You can let us know if you're watching this in 2026. Don't tell me any other time.
Okay, so this outputs so this does the recycling sequentially, so it will go to the trouble of validating the material first and then recycling the material directly. So here, we don't get to cycle 29 before it hits the debonder, but unlike Tweedledee and Chickens in the Attic solves, this one has a much lower latency.
Yeah, look at that. Was it? Okay, left, right, left, right, left. Okay, now it doesn't change the balance of the irons going out.
No,
It just
no.
had, okay.
It just has a lot better latency pipeline. You can see here the copper polymer. There's like this really long track loop specifically so that it doesn't ever stop moving until it's outputting. And this in particular, I really like this bonding sequence. Starting with a tringle and just kind of. I like the earth that's been like sequestered from the rest of the iron and that ends up going to the copper polymer. Just kind of like nice pipeline geometry.
Yeah, very clean. All right, nice work. Nice inaugural solution by Faindeer.
If you ask me, one thing about this solve is that this is starting to hit the limits of the true recycling method, because it doesn't really get much faster than this latency wise. He's doing this all pretty quick.
Yeah, can we estimate Because you can get to the first output at a certain rate count, or a certain cycle count.
Yeah, I think Chickens in the Attic got his first, like had the thing validated and placed on the first debonder, like 3 cycles quicker.
Okay, so 27 cycles. So if you did true recycling, you could probably get a little less than 59, but not much better than that.
Yeah, I reckon like 58. No, I reckon like 57, 56 might be the hard limit of this recycling limit method. But that's not like considering like any latency BS.
Or reusing inputs, so.
Yeah, or reusing inputs.
Let's see if that happens.
Alright, in 6th place. Also at 61 cycles, but coming in like way cheaper, like over 400G cheaper, is Tempo Spire.
A solid hint that there is no recycling here. You don't have to create 2 solutions, you just create 1 solution. Okay, yeah. It looks like a cleaner version of what SGS did. Still has the salt waste, but a lot less things moving around. Oh, it's very tight with that upper output, using those pistons all over the place.
One thing about this, the non-polymer output, the one that you have to just, like, the one with all these bonds, the bonding sequence, or like the way the output bonds are arranged, means that the latency is naturally increased because, generally when you're like cycles optimizing, bonds that are at like 60-degree angles to each other, like generally don't like each other, like a normal triangle with like all 3 bonds. Like, you have to, like, do that in, like, 3 separate steps, essentially. So there's a lot of, like, built-in latency on this output in particular.
The hourglass shape. Very high latency. I did not plan it. I just wanted to reuse the stabilized surface there. But one thing I should mention, which I just realized right now, is that you don't actually need to use that salt waste, because the copper is already being pulled as fast as possible.
Oh, duh. You're sorry. You're totally right. Yeah. No, copper. Yeah. Sorry. Metal is limiting, isn't it? Whoops.
Yeah, that's one thing about this puzzle. I think people could stand to do a little more, especially in modern puzzle design, is have an underutilized reagent. I know some metrics will automatically underutilize things as much as possible, but I think there's a lot of interesting space that is relatively underexplored by just making an input not used as often as a different input. But
no, that's a good point. That is a good point. I'm definitely guilty of like making sure like all my inputs are being equally utilized for certain metrics. But like having like an input that you really only just ever have to grab half as often, like even for like cycle solves, it lets you slow things down at one end of your pipeline, and you can kind of like get away with cheaper ARM equipment than you normally can, and you don't have to have like 30 million ARMs lying around. And there's plenty of space there. I can see that. All right. In 5th place, we drop down 10 cycles to Mr. Puzzle.
10 cycles. Legendary
cycles.
Mr. Puzzle.
That dastardly Mr. Puzzle. He's always one step ahead.
Alright. What? Why is this one so much faster than the other ones? It's just, is it just good? Is that what we're working on? Look at that. Look at that copper bonding for the normal output. It's just, he does it in 2 steps anyways.
Now, what's insane? He's not even doing this at full throughput. There's like a pivot here, over the input.
Yeah, that's one of the things where it's like, well, I don't need to pull this all the time.
Yeah.
So I'll just add this pivot here. And that's why there's no salt waste, because he spends that pivot there.
It's not even that expensive. This is the cheapest solve we've seen so far.
Very clean. One thing I'd like to mention is the, so he makes a bunch of the polymer, and it's not touching the glyph yet, the output glyph. But you needed to touch that to win. So how do you solve this problem? Well, make all the output you need, and then the reason why you see a bunch of repeats in the graph there is that he just grabs it, rotates, pivots, and then lands there at the very end, rather than waiting for the natural progression of getting to that glyph. Minor cycles optimization, but if you don't know this trick, it can kind of ruin your cycle score. But wow, that's a lot of cycles dropped just for doing it better than previous people.
So yeah, there's no like need to like handle waste, and also like he's recognized that you don't really need to grab this salt input as often as possible. And also the thing with the main polymer is that it's also like the lowest latency output, because he does this cool trick, this calcification trick here with the salt, so that he's got like 2 of these earths ready to line up. So when this second iron, this reactive iron comes in, all you need to do is bond it once and then debond, and you've already got the output. And it's just a matter of getting it onto the output. As opposed to the other 2 higher latency pipelines.
I hope he was satisfied when he made this off, because this is very good.
Because yeah, the copper polymer, you do have to like debond, project, and only then, well, that one went the other direction, and then bond. And this hourglass output is even higher latency, although he does use a multi-bonder here, which I was waiting for, because this is the quickest way to bond this together.
Yeah, if you just do one input at a time, it's slow. But if you just have both of the outputs there when you're bonding the hourglass, then you can utilize a multi-bonder very effectively.
But it is insane that this did get those last 2 solves by 10 entire cycles, even though there's no like even though there's no recycling here. This is why it's important to do your cycles math.
Yeah. I could fully expect that a lot of what could be explained is just the timing of the outputs. You have one infinite be slower than the others, and it can set you back an entire period or more. So. And then you also improve the latency, and you get up to 10.
Okay. Moving down 1 cycle to 50 cycles, we have Rithaniel.
Rithaniel.
And this one's quite expensive.
Oh boy.
In fact, I'll need to zoom out.
Okay, so this is true recycling. Oh. That was so fast.
Okay. So here we go over, we have it all validated on cycle 26. But then we chop it in half. We only use half of it in the end.
Because you only need half.
You only need half.
Wow, is this the first pre-building solution?
Yeah, this is all pre-building.
I'll have, I'll have to check the records, but canonically, in terms of rank and then chronology, this is the first pre-building solution we've seen, and Nathaniel has done a great demonstration of it.
And the insane part of this is that it's still throwing away metal. Like this is metal that's not being used for the copper or the hourglass.
Yeah, I can only assume that he realized at some point, it's like, wait, I don't have to use this. I can just pull the original input, and that's perfectly all right. But yeah, so why are we calling this pre-building and not just recycling? Part of that is because we see the stabilized earth chain. We have that second chain being built up in preparation for making that normal output. So when they break the bat, Nathaniel can pull in that chain of 6 stabilized earths and at extremely low latency just bond that together, project the iron and output. It happens all at once, and that's because all the components necessary are pre-built to allow that low latency batching throughput.
So this is a pretty good puzzle to do pre-building on, because the thing about the main polymer output is that it's already got like elements of the hourglass in it. If I specifically do this, you can see that is an iron and like 2 earths that you're not too far away from, with like the earth and salt and the projection part. So that combined with an earth salt input is just straight up the hourglass. So you have these 2 sections of the hourglass that come, and you can see we use, instead of calcifying, quite interestingly, we just like grab just a few of the inputs. We only need 3. And you have half of it, and you just combine that with the other stabilized earths that you prepared ahead of time, like a cooking show.
That's a good way to describe it. What's that fancy French word? Mise en place or something like that?
Oh.
Everything in place?
That one goes past my head.
Okay, well, I horribly mispronounced it, so let's just leave that there. I will say, Nathaniel did have a pre-building light solution in unwinding. It may even qualify as pre-building itself, but it was not used to nearly as great effect as in here. Because pre-building does create a lot of latency, so you need a puzzle where that latency is acceptable to get the lowest cycle score. But yeah, very good solution.
So the reason this is a lot better than most of the true recycling solves is that you're not really like measuring it from the first set of outputs. Like, because you're only using half of them, you only need to worry about like the back 6. So it's from like the time the 7th input is pulled, which is like 5, 6, 7. So it's only here from cycle 14 through to when it's bonded and separated. And hang on, let me move the output back so it makes more visual sense. So it's from like cycle 14 to this point where it gets separated at cycle 27. As opposed to those true recycling solves we were looking at, where you could kind of measure it from cycle 0 to 27 when it started making the outputs. But yeah, pre-building is a way to cheat that equation, essentially. All right.
And I suspect we'll see more cheating in just a second.
You would be correct. In 3rd place, at 49 cycles, we have Larsdahl.
Larsdahl.
I'm going to zoom back
and
in
with
for this one.
555G. This one's probably just clean. Yeah, so how's that for a Nemesis Mr. Puzzle?
I believe 2019 was back when Goodbye Galaxy was first discovering the game and learning the joys of Sum.
Yeah. If somehow you're watching this video and you haven't watched that video, that's pretty good of you. But Goodbye Galaxy put out a very great video about finding records in Opus Magnum. I do recommend it. But wow, that is... So we don't have the multi-bonder for the copper hourglass. It's just 3 individual bonders, but still...
It's just as low latency. You actually still, from the time the last one is grabbed, it is still only 2 bonding steps. Because you have just prepared the other triangle ahead of time already. So, in this instance, you don't need a multi-bonder, essentially. Although it is slightly...
Same,
yeah. I mean, it's like 10G more expensive to use 4 individual bonders, so, you know, we're not... Considering we don't really have any cycles ties, it's like not really like... it's not time to split hairs that much. This isn't the 2026 Tawny.
Yeah. I'm looking at the other outputs and it's all very, very quick, very clean. This can get you top 3. Play the puzzle normally and output. But that's not what we get for the top 2.
No. The cycle count does take a bit of a nosedive here. In second place, at 45 cycles, we have Matter Monkey.
Was Matter Monkey really playing this early on?
Matter Monkey was around from the start, yeah. Let me zoom out.
I know him from Dust Wars, which I occasionally play. I did not know I didn't realize he participated in this tournament. That's way back. Okay. Yeah, so this demonstrates the secret of this puzzle, which is because the long iron output is so quick on its latency, the actual output you want to recycle is the copper output, because that's also pretty quick to make, and then you have all this copper sitting around to help you make the hourglasses. So why recycle the big long output when you can just make all this copper quickly and then get the rest?
Because this hourglass output is essentially just copper and 2 stabilized earth inputs. And yeah, interestingly, none of the other souls did this. So they recycled like the quote unquote intended way, but this is actually the strictly better way to do it for cycles.
It's amazing how much you can ruin people's preconceptions of a puzzle and ruin how they approach a puzzle by just giving it a bad name or setting up the story wrong and they do all these things. One good reason I advise silence on the tournament house and how they do things, because it's like, you don't want to feel responsible for this kind of thing. And I've always felt bad about how this puzzle came out because of things like that. But
I still remember, I think it was Best's tournament. It was the production week, and she said something that sounds pretty vague. Like, I think like the best instructions count is like half the best cycles count or something like that. And that's pretty like vague. Into a casual, that means absolutely nothing. But that little tidbit of information gave away the game, and I'm pretty sure got Biggie to realize her instruction solution was nowhere near par, and she shot up to like 3rd or 2nd place with that information.
Yeah, I remember that's like, no. How could this happen? I am a known spoilers moderate where I don't care what people say, like let them fudge around a little bit. Those neurons were going to fire one way or another. But there's never been such a clear-cut case of like, oh no, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I was pretty anal about spoilers when on my tournament. I remember I like temporarily got mod pals on the Discord, and I was just like silencing dissent left and right whenever I thought it got slightly too spoilery.
An iron fist. All right, shall we see?
The trick is, but yes, the secret source of this cycles puzzle is to completely ignore the intention of the entire puzzle.
There is still wire forming and unforming, but it's just on the copper. I doubt I intended this when it came out. I can't actually speak to whether I did, but I very much doubt it. But yeah.
All right. So in first place at 39 cycles, we have Biggie Mac 42.
She's a legend.
Not even close.
If I remember right, Biggie worked on this very hard to like not lose after what she saw in week 1, and it was just it was a complete blowout. Like under 1000 G, which is better than most of the recycling solutions, and a full 6 cycles faster than Mad Monkey, who was the only other person to even think about using the copper to make the hourglasses. It's just, you did so well in a world that wasn't ready for that level of competence.
So this has like, I'm pretty sure. Alright, I might be speaking out of line here, but I'm pretty sure this is min. This certainly didn't get improved, ever. Alright, well, it did get Ginu'd by, like, about 150 G. But it's the same layout and the same idea, and has not been improved at all.
Yeah, I think if you run the calculation, like 38 or 37 might be possible. But, like, come on.
But yeah, Biggie purely gets Madder Monkey. I think those 6 cycles were all just latency, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's all latency. Because if you go to cycle 37, 38, so here you grab the last input of the metal and has been bonded, and you can just output this like next cycle, and because metal is limiting and it's the last input you're grabbing, the hourglass can already be done by this point. But Mad Monkey was like 1 cycle late on the hourglass, or sorry, 1 round of inputs late on the hourglass.
1 full product.
Whereas Biggie has gone to great pains to make sure that the hourglass is done in time. This is actually where most of the thinking of the solve went, into this insane, like, have the hex arms store inputs and have, like, 4 different fucking bonding stations for the hourglass so that you can be bonding multiple hourglasses together at the same time. You can see, yeah, copper is shed out the back here for one of the outputs, just so that you can make use of this, like, northernmost bonding station.
Just cracking every little piece of latency you can. Yeah, so far ahead of time. I love that storage hex arm over there. I remember seeing that, and it's just like, oh look, you're using every single gripper. It's so cute. And I love the solve. I remember seeing it back in the day. I'm just like, wow, I'm never gonna be able to reach these peaks in terms of competence, and maybe I might in the future, but like,
See,
sure haven't.
and this is the thing that it got brought up in quite a few streams over the years, over tournaments, of like player skill, like inflation, and how that's like changed the tournament landscape. A solve like this in 2019 is a complete fucking blowout. Biggie could have slowed this down by 5 cycles and it still would have won. In current year, you'd probably get like 5 of these solves at least.
Yeah, Matter Monkey Solve wouldn't even make the top 10 if you ask me.
Yeah. Matter Monkey
would
solve straight up would be like 15th place.
Yeah, everyone would know that copper is the best way to do the recycling, and then they would just be, we would have primary ties where the secondaries matter.
Yeah.
This puzzle had no primary ties.
Yeah, which is insane. Like, yeah, people would have known, recycle the copper instead. Okay, the hourglass is really important to get the latency down. Everyone knows the equation, and that the main polymer is essentially what you're constructing last, and is low latency, and you need atoms here and there, and it would all come down to just pure like technique, like how many track loops can you delete, how many pistons can you get rid of, kind of thing. And which actually did happen to this very solve. Like, it's the same exact layout, and I don't easily have it on hand, so it won't be popping up here on the stream. But I'll just tell you the current record. It's this layout, but instead of $9.95 cost, it is, once I can find it, $835 cost.
Whoa.
So, actually, the top is nearly identical. Instead of that hex arm, it's like a length 2 hex arm. I should have these solves ready on hand, actually, in future. Can't drop the ball on that one. This would have been interesting to show, but it's mainly the bottom. It's mainly all this hourglass stuff that's been, like, rearranged into a more efficient way. Like, there's less bonders and stuff. This top is almost completely identical, funnily enough. Even though that's the part with the piston on the track loop kind of thing.
You gotta save latency with that piston.
Yep.
I know a piston in a track, a single piston in a big track loop, that's always saving some latency. Yeah, look at that. If you want, you can load those in once we get to the end of the stream, and just have them in the archive.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I might show. I might do it after we show all the metrics. I might do all the 0th place solves at the end.
Yeah. So you better watch the end, viewer.
Yeah. Or else.
Or skip to the end. Do what you want.
It'll probably be. I'll probably timestamp it so it has its own chapter. All right. Speaking of timestamps in different chapters, let me boot in Sum.
Ooh. What was the weights on this one?
All right. So, you actually gonna? I actually do. I'm curious about the reason why there were different weights every week. Actually, so what was the idea behind that? Because like as a Sum main, I'm sitting here going, let's just run some, like classic Sum every week, no waiting. That's the dream, right? But what was the thought between weighting the Sum differently every week?
So I think one thing to note here, and I may be wrong, but this is my memory. I don't think Sum was formalized as a proper metric yet. Or if it was so early on that my much younger brain was just like, well, I can try other weights. The Sum is kind of arbitrary, where you're just deciding to add a bunch of numbers. So I'm like, divide here, multiply there. Whatever I think might be interesting for the puzzle, I did. And that was my kind of experimental way of playing with things. Yeah, there's no better explanation there. I just wanted to try things out.
Okay, so straight up wasn't formalized.
Yeah, that is my recollection. Maybe someone's like, oh, I was doing some things all the time, but I think Sum was just getting started. Because you have to remember, this is about a year after the game came out. A year and like 3 months or something like that. So it's still very early in the history of the game.
Funnily enough, I believe next week we're getting Classic Sum. So we will see some Classic Sum. It actually happens a few times over the tournament, but this week we had cost. So you take your normal sum formula, cost plus cycles plus area. This week, cost divided by 10 plus cycles divided by 5 plus area, which is very different to Classic Sum.
Wow, I divide cycles by 5. I let there be fractions?
You did.
That's awful. We need to throw me out. So I can absolutely say this happened because look at that area. It's going to be high automatically. So I wanted to devalue area in this infinite puzzle.
Well, actually, this has the opposite effect. You actually value area higher.
Yeah, sorry. I said that the wrong way.
No.
I wanted to make sure that you weren't just swinging a massive input as part of the quote-unquote elegant sum solution. So that's why I wanted to emphasize.
Actually, I think at the end, I might just show what the sum record ended up being alongside the 0th place solves. Because I obviously won't have the 0th place solve for this. I don't know, I didn't take every single Pareto and scour and run the equation and like scour for a better one, which I'm pretty sure there wouldn't have been one anyway, but I'll get the sum record at the ready. But in the meantime, starting off at 7th place, we have a score of 474.8 with M. Pete. Now, this is a combined submission, so this is also just like an area submission. I'm gonna just save it for area. This is just straight up an area solve.
You're saving this for area?
Sorry?
Okay. Yeah, you're saving this puzzle for area. Okay.
Yeah, saving the solve for area. In 6th place, at a score of 383.1, Chickens in the Attic with the cycle solve.
Okay, as you can see, I have failed to make area matter because look at that huge swing right there.
You actually have not failed to make area matter. It's just that these are very much not unoptimized. So very not optimized for the metric at all. Sorry, next solve was probably the first one that I'd say is SumBrain specifically because it was submitted only for sum. In 5th place at 287.2. We have Tempo Spire. And this is still over 200 area.
Oh my god.
Okay, we have seen this solve as well, actually. This is just like reprogrammed from the cycles. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just a minor variation, but okay.
Okay, so I take back what I said about this being SumBrained.
Tempo Spire, not SumBrained. You've heard it here.
Not a sum main, confirmed. In 4th place, at 251.3, we have Kyojin Desu. And this is listed for area, but I can confidently say this one actually is SumBrain because 160 area is not like area tier. This is mostly a sum solve.
Yeah, this looks more summy. It does have a big swing in that piston there, but that's alright.
So one thing you've done with the weightings, one thing you've encouraged here, is pistons in sum solve. They are very much encouraged here because cost is divided by 10. So pistons don't cost 40G, they cost 4G.
That's pretty good.
And they save hexes pretty easily, especially considering cycles was divided by 5. That gives you a lot of wiggle room to like spend a few extra cycles saving on area because area will really matter here. So pistons are good in this metric.
I did it, everyone.
We did it. We made some matter. I mean, area. I can't talk.
All right. I don't know if there's much to comment on. I keep looking at that swing, but
That
certainly we
swing
won't
could
see that.
yeah, that swing's that definitely does not spark joy. This ooh, just retract it first. Save quite a few hexes. That was quite a few. Look at all those hexes at the bottom here. Alright, so this would have been the swing, so it would have been like 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. There's 9 hexes that could have been saved there.
If anyone wants to try to give this puzzle a go on this waiting, I know there's 3 more solutions left. I bet you could get better than Kyojin Desu here. No offense to Kyojin Desu, but...
This does strike me as a bit of a solve the puzzle solve.
Yeah.
Alright.
That's alright. It's a hard puzzle, so...
It's a very hard puzzle. In third place, at 191.4, Tweedledee.
Big drop.
Big drop, and this is actually taking the metric seriously, although the start here is definitely heavily inspired by Tweedledee's cycle solve.
Yeah.
But a completely different, far more area efficient pipeline here for the ending here.
Very tight. The hourglass is mostly just translating. There's one bad pivot there, and you really wish that salt chain could not exist, but there's a lot of consideration here, so.
Yeah, the salt chain is eating through the area count a bit. 119 is still like a high area count for this sum metric, and is definitely where this could be improved. And that's also just kind of because Tweedledee mostly borrowed this start from his cycle solve. It's not the same, it's not full throughput. But it is the same kind of recycling geometry. And it is like,
yeah.
This is pretty fast considering cycles is divided by 5 and does not matter very much.
Yeah. Really, I'm saving you having to accept or trying to trim down latency. So recycling itself tends to work pretty well here.
Alright, so this metric was pretty much a 2-horse race. Between our top 2. In second place, at 127.5, that is a 64-point drop, Grimmy. Alright, so let's have a look at this. 285 cost, 80 cycles, 83 area. This is where it's at. Oh.
Wow, look at that. I bet there's some area solutions that lose on this, and it's still relatively fast.
So interestingly, only one piston is needed. This is actually shockingly cheap at 285G.
Yeah, by using using the glyphs exactly where they're needed, you create all this swing space, and you don't really need the pistons, because it's just like my regular arms will do everything I need.
This is almost somewhere approaching like a classic sum solve, actually. I mean, it has a piston, don't get me wrong. But this is actually like giving a bit of some goodness, especially with the way the hourglass is being pivoted to only need one bonder. That is definite sum territory.
Yeah, that perfect pivot of the stabilizer into it, and then you just pivot around. I love that little cyclone. Yeah, I would not be surprised if a sum solve looked a lot like this, except it's slightly faster and a little looser in its area consumption.
Yeah, I'll definitely get the sum record on hand for when we're going through the 0th place solves, just to compare it to these. But this did not win. This was in fact beaten by 0.4 points by Pentapig.
Pentapig. Wow. I wonder, did Pentapig must have dropped area because Shadow Cluster is
Pentapig did drop area. No, you mean like the one he didn't submit for?
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you, I got it up here. Pentapig submitted. No, Pentapig did submit for area.
Oh, so it was cost.
Yes, Pentapig dropped cost.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that.
There is, I'm pretty sure there was a reason Pentapig dropped cost, and we will see that reason when we actually look at cost.
Yeah, my brain already realized why that probably happened, but okay. But yeah, another clearly some
this one here. Sorry, when you said dropped area, what I thought you meant was compared to Grimmy's solve, this used less area, because that's what this does.
Yeah, because it's at 79. Grimmy was at 83.
Yeah, 83. Grimmy was at 80 cycles, so that's like 1.6 that Grimmy saved, and Grimmy was 20G cheaper, so that's 2 points. 3.6 points, but Pentapig was 4 hexes less. That's how much area mattered. Grimmy was 20G better and 8 cycles faster, but Pentapig's 4 hexes won him the metric.
And one of those hexes is extremely funny to see saved. If you'll note, the bomb polymer seems to be missing a stabilized Earth. And the only reason I can reckon that's happening is because the bomb polymer is probably faster than the copper at the top there. And when it gets to the very end, you don't want to cover unnecessary space. No, wait.
No, I think it's just to save on latency. Sorry. Yeah, it's literally just to, like, seek an output quicker.
Okay, I see. Yeah. Never mind.
Oh, you thought this hex was being saved.
I thought it was cuter than that, but no, it looks like it's just a latency save. Okay, whatever. It's fine.
It's pretty cool, I guess.
I wonder how Am-Arms would do on this puzzle.
Am-Arms! Holy shit! Oh.
Why not make it just a little worse?
Just week 1 of the tournament. This Am-Arms.
That's how you run a tournament.
Now we're cooking with gas.
But yeah, nice work, Epic. I know it looks like there's not a lot of competition here, but generally in 2019 we had fewer submitters in most puzzles. So you're going to see it's mostly podium fights rather than, big top 10 clashes.
Yeah, and also in 2019 the metric score mattered, so that's probably one of the reasons why Biggie wasn't too cut up about her blowout, was because it put everyone else's metric scores in like a lot worse compared to hers. She was specific. It's kind of like she was like there's almost an element of like marking one's territory on their favorite metric. Like you're incentivized to win big, specifically so that everyone else behind you got a worse metric score. And it also like I know Pentapig didn't really submit to cycles much, if at all, specifically to avoid having to compete with Biggie and risk being blown out by like a Biggie cycles god solve. If I have the final, where are the final standings? Yeah, Pentapig did not submit to cycles at any point in the tournament. There you go.
A very strategic. I mean, Pentapig, I know has some cycle chops, but has never been overly well known for it. So, good choice in meta strategy and just regular strategy.
And then you have, so Biggie submits to cycles every week. Mostly also submits to some. There is one puzzle where she submits to cost. So, well, interesting to see how that plays out. And our other top competitors for 2019 were Shadow Cluster and Jinyu, and they both submit to area and cost every week. So that's why you haven't seen their names yet.
Yeah, Pentapig had the weirdest time with this tournament. But
that's why I'm interested to show some of these unsubmitted solves from Pentapig. Because I think Pentapig himself was kind of like struggling to decide on a few weeks where to submit, where not to submit. Alright. So, with that, I will prepare the area solves.
Area on 2 polymers.
I do
possibly.
Sorry to cut you off there. What could possibly go wrong?
There's a lovely sum, or not some. There's a solve for refined bronze that is in height gold. I recommend checking that out after this is done.
Refried bonds.
Bonds. Refried beans.
Actually, one thing that did do, that like modified sum, it wasn't true sum, although it was starting to approach that. It was, you basically came up with sum but pistons are good back in 2019, which I find kind of hilarious. But those are interesting. These are like less well explored points on the Pareto frontier than what you're used to seeing, which I do think is a cool aspect about the weighted sum solves, though I do like me some sum. And we will get some goodness next week. I haven't looked at the solves yet for next week's sum, but if memory serves, there's plenty of good stuff there.
I believe so.
Alright. Starting with area, we have Kyojin Desu's sort of area, sort of sum, mostly just solve the puzzle solve at 160 hexes.
What's the difference? It is a lot of work creating 2 solutions for a tournament. Sometimes one is enough.
And with this puzzle too, there was probably like an element of, oh, I don't want to have to do this twice, kind of creeping in a bit. Alright, in 10th place, we have M-Pete's combined... So this is the solve that I could have shown on some, but I skipped through, because this feels like the first true area solve. This was submitted for some, so I could have shown it, but this feels more like an area solve. Is that ghost grabs?
Force? It's either that or M-Pete's just weird. Because this is 6P.
Okay, I'm just gonna elephant mode this. Oh, okay.
So that down.
Okay, let's just rabbit mode.
Double rabbit.
Double rabbit. Okay,
yeah, so
I tempted fate and pressed the elephant button. I'm sorry. I was a fool and thought I could control the elephant.
It's funny because I think elephant mode like disables animations or something to make it go faster, and that makes it really hard to switch out of it. So you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
The stampede will kill you.
It really is a full stampede. I'm actually just like mashing the non-elephant buttons trying to get out, but the elephant button is powerful and must be respected, and I did not respect it.
True.
Okay, so the solution starts in proper on cycle 784.
Yeah, so very tight creation of that first glyph, or first output. I imagine you could probably do it in less area, but then MP has a station at the end with RM4 that creates the next 2 outputs.
Funnily enough, the main reason this wasn't very competitive compared to Grimmy and Pentapig solve, other than the cycle count, is the fact that this actually still wasn't even close to as small as either of those solves. This is still using 108 hexes over what we saw Pentapig and Grimmy do, where they were sitting at around the 80 hex mark.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are... Sorry, excuse me 1 second. There's a lot of things here that are adding area. Like, if you look at... Because we have the polymer coming through, and he just uses debonds and bonds to translate it over and over. But because you have a straight debonder and the entire atom is going over it, or the entire molecule is going over it, that's 6 hexes that you're just adding to your solve without doing anything. And then he's just alternating between creating the straight copper or creating the normal output, the hourglass. And as a result, he overproduces copper on one part. So it's just, there's a lot of messiness to the solve that's adding way too much area when you could probably do it differently. But, you know.
Yeah, sorry, I won't play the solve again, but yeah, you can see all these there's a lot of equilibrium glyphs, and they do add up. They really do add up. So you have these ones, and then you got more at the end, because doing it this way overproduces copper. So you do end up just having like a lot of spare copper. Yeah, that's just the extra hex usage. That's I'm not gonna count that manually, but you get the idea. It really adds up. That's like at least 20 hexes.
Yeah, and if you took away 20 hexes from this, you'd be more competitive than Grimmy or Pentapig, but... Yeah.
Okay. Dropping down, though. We actually drop all the way down to 71 hexes with SGS.
Okay, here we go.
So, this is proper area hours.
Okay, no recycling, which is reasonable. But we do have a delayed start arm. So this is a fun technique. There might actually be recycling in this. We'll see. But basically...
Kind of seems like there will be. Yeah, I think the copper's getting recycled.
Yeah. Is this pre-building? No.
Wow, so pre-building.
But it definitely has delayed start. So in Opus Magnum, you can start your arms as late as you want, and they'll start doing things when they're asked to. There is no reason to have your entire machine operate all at once. And that is how SGS is able to not overload his arms and do 2 different things at the same time, when you could do 2 different things at different times.
Also, one thing to mention, the cycle count won't matter just yet, but it will matter for this puzzle. For this metric.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is relatively fast compared to other things, but...
That is true.
It also feels like... Yeah.
There are like 3 bonders and a duplication glyph and an equilibrium and all that. Anyway, moving on, we drop down 5 hexes to 66. We have Xavion.
Xavion. So we're down to 2 pistons. Starting with the hourglass. Some nice input suppression there. 2 arms gets you some interesting techniques in doing that. And it looks like just by removing a lot of those bonding glyphs. Oh, I lost the stream.
Oh, what? Is it alright?
Oh, it's back. Okay.
Sorry. My bad.
That is perfectly all right. Okay, and now he's making the copper output with a permanently suppressed stabilized earth. And finally making the last output. That's is he creating waste at this point?
No, I think he's just leaving the copper chain. No, wait. No, he's not creating waste.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no calcifier, so yeah, he's alright. Okay.
But this says,
Yeah.
hang on, let me rabbit mode this one.
Yeah, but it's min glyphs, so that's a good sign that you're getting close to min area. I don't think this is min yet, though.
No, those equilibrium glyphs definitely stand out a bit.
But how could you possibly save those? Really, I'm not even sure how one of those hexes was used. We could check that real quick, but otherwise it's a fairly competent area to solve.
Oh, so... Oh, there needed to be like... Okay, hang on. Let me not rabbit mode the start. Okay, so we have an hourglass, but it needs to be projected. So for starters, one of the hexes is used because it needs to be over that projector, which also involves input suppression. And that
right
pivot clips a hex that probably did not need to be clipped.
Yeah, that could have been easily saved. That's rough. Oh well.
It did not matter though. So there you go.
Dropping to 64.
We're dropping to 63.
63.
Starting with
I'm
Darius
so sorry.
1. Alright, now we're getting close to min.
I mean, how much more could you do? I'll leave that as an exercise for the viewer.
For the next 5-10 minutes anyway, until I reveal it. But yeah, I won't say it now.
Yeah, because we lost 3 area. That's because we lost the extra track hex and
the two
equilibriums.
and the 2 equilibriums.
So, what's going on here? Where we have min glyphs, right? Right?
yeah. Do we just min glyphs with a little asterisk at the end?
I'm trying to actively think of what horrors I've unleashed on the remaining 6 players, but I can't imagine exactly what it looks like. It seems it's probably a wasteful thing, but man, I'm so sorry. This is a good solution by Darius 1 though.
Yeah, I regret to inform you all that you did not need the glyph of bonding. You heard it here first.
No bonds needed to be made.
Hey, let me crank it up a touch. All right. Hang on. I mean, what's the hourglass? In case anything funky happens there, real quick. So a lot more area conscious way to make the hourglass. All right. That seemed pretty straightforward to me, so I'm gonna move on. We dropped down by cycles count actually. To Rithaniel in 6th place, dropping it down by like nearly 300 cycles, so much quicker.
Yeah, I imagine. Let's watch that hourglass again. Oh, look at that. No crazy manipulations. Just 2 bonds, bam, bam. Yeah, it's moved out of the way a little bit, and then out. We'll make 6 of those before we move on.
So one thing about area is the output glyphs are a given in every single puzzle you will ever solve in an area capacity. the size of those glyphs matter a lot. They dictate how much extra swing space or wiggle room you may get. And nothing's ever guaranteed. If it's a small input, but you have to do a lot of steps, it can be very annoying. Or if it's a weird molecule shape, you can get very funky. This puzzle gives you a lot of output space. This is a lot of space with which to wiggle around. Which is why this is why I did criticize those equilibrium glyphs from earlier, because there is a lot of room for you to just make this hourglass, even with just one bonder.
Yeah, there is no shortage of space afforded by the outputs. It's just, can you make sure you can reach it? And one of the first steps in becoming a good area player is knowing everything that's allowed to you and making sure you use it. Well, I guess that's secondary stuff, but first you have to know what's not allowed to you. Okay, now we're making the... That was very quick on the coppers, by the way. But now we're making the iron, which is going to take a little bit more time.
No, I'm right.
Nathaniel is using a well, it's not really a catalyst. I imagine you could speed it up if you kept a permanent catalyst there, but
yeah, interesting. That it's like a temp catalyst. This is definitely making the iron the main wire part of the solve quicker than the last solve did. I think every step is just quicker. Whoa! Looping.
And this is so this isn't true looping, but this is like a technique Opus Magnum players used to do to make it so that they could make a GIF of their solution, where if you just push everything off to the side, and the game is tricked into thinking 6 procs could be made, then you could still get a GIF out and move on with your day. So this is why you'll see these like bust out products here.
All right. Moving down to 5th place, we do hit min, which is 61 hexes, starting with Jinyu. So from here on out, it'll be a cycles race. So Jinyu hits us with 1154 cycles. Just in case you hadn't already guessed, you don't need the duplicator.
Yeah, you can just have a bunch of floating salt waste. Why not? So we're starting with the copper, reasonable, only takes 1 input. Jinyu is only using 1 piston here, so that's a sign of why this might be slower than the remaining 4 solutions.
Yep, that truism from last week still holds. If you can use 2 pistons, you may want to consider using 2 pistons, especially if it's a cycle secondary.
It can be quite challenging to find that though, because if you notice with a track, if I just stuck 2 pistons there, I'm not really getting a lot out of it. So you have to find good locations for both pistons, and that's much more challenging than just finding 1 piston plus tracks.
Yeah, definitely. Because this, the thing you can do with a piston on a track is that you can use that unoccupied hex of track as like atom storage. And it's just a little bit of extra space that you may need depending on how tight your area solve is. And, ooh, waste management.
Okay, so Jinyu is starting by just getting the 6 earths he needs, and then he puts all the salt that he doesn't need where the copper used to be.
That one salt at the end, that's just because he's trying to reduce salt waste as much as he can.
Yeah, if he put that salt waste anywhere else, he'd have to constantly juggle it. But by putting it at the end of the pip there, the ... is not a real atom, but it does take up area, so you can just put a little bit of waste there. So this is very good in terms of managing the juggling of waste. There's very little he's had to do here as we've gone along in terms of handling all that salt. I think it's going to get worse as we go here, but
It is somewhat
this probably is.
It
AG,
is somewhat
if I-
somewhat ironic. Yeah, this might well be AG, but it is somewhat ironic seeing Jinyu get cooked on secondary. Obviously, he's lost the secondary race here conceptually, not in terms of micro optimizations, but yeah, a lot of waste. Just like the single piston combined with a lot of waste handling that has to be done here for this layout, for this particular layout to work.
Yeah, it's tragic when such a good solution loses on the concept level and not on the execution level, but we do get to see a very good solve either way, so I'm happy about it.
Can I just talk about how this still hasn't crashed?
When would it crash? I guess probably very soon. But Jinyu has been known to force things to loop, so it could be a while.
There's no way this loops, right?
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 Does he make as many outputs as possible?
He can't store much more salt. It's still going. It hasn't looped at all.
Did anyone catch this back in 2019? That Jinyu just made this?
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
Oh.
He did it.
Oh. Holy shit.
Oh. Thank you, Jinyu. It was so unnecessary, but you did it.
Could have just thrown the salt on like 4 fucking products ago, but he didn't. He programmed extra ones out.
He's like, you want me to handle salt? I'll handle every single salt I can.
Fuck, he went and did extra. He didn't even like clip hexes when he did that, even though the solve had already finished. He still kept it within the confines of the layout. That was amazing. Alright, in 4th place. Just about the last name you'd ever expect to see on an area puzzle. It's Grimmy.
Grimmy.
That's right, Grimmy submitted more area solves to this tournament than Biggie did.
It must have seemed like an interesting challenge, so they took it on.
Or he looked at cycles and went, I'd rather gouge my eyeballs out. I'll let the viewer decide.
I know what I prefer. Okay, so still 1 piston on a track.
Okay, so it's validated it's copper, so now it's going to make the hourglass, which should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, looking good. And it's just how quickly are we making the line?
Okay, so now the salt waste begins. Now, there is room here at the top here, where these, doing the copper first means that this is all, yep, that's all storage space you can use for salt waste. And he's prepared a bunch of these earth atoms ahead of time, so he won't have to worry about salt waste for a while. But he will have to... Sorry.
Yeah, viewers might remember that Jinyu only was able to store, what was it, 5 or 4?
I think it was 4.
Before?
Well, I think 4 or 5. You're right. It's less than this. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why this is getting faster.
All right. So salt will have to be stored at the bottom now, and there's still a couple of hexes to spare here. And Grimmy's only got 3 more to make, so there's gonna be room.
Yeah, 1 more salt can go in the top. And then I think it's only the last one that's going to cause...
You just leave it. You just leave it on the debonder.
Yeah, just move it to the side of it, and there you go.
Didn't do the Jinyu trick of putting one at the very end where the ... atom was, but didn't need to, I guess.
Potentially saved a little bit.
That might have actually saved a couple of cycles. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, maybe.
Because it was pretty fast getting that last salt round, but...
It was pretty tight. Grimmy only got Jinyu by like a couple dozen cycles in the end.
So this one might be AG. Who knows?
All right. In third place, Pentapig. 1084. Still one piston.
You almost wonder if the two piston even exists.
Does make you wonder. Some top solvers not being able to crack two pistons. It's not easy with all that salt waste that you have to juggle. It does get very tight towards the end. We saw Grimmy maybe potentially had one extra hex to work with, but that was a maybe potentially.
So with the copper here, Pentapig was able to not store the early coppers on the glyph itself, but just off to the side, which probably saved a decent few cycles. This hourglass construction looks pretty standard. I like the sigma shape that he creates, and those last two bonds are added very nicely. But
you made that last one. Yeah, those last couple of hourglasses had a different bonding pattern. Interestingly, I think because he could afford to swing over the bottom. So there was a rotation he didn't previously have access to, because copper had previously been stored there. But yeah, so it removed the necessity for the sigma shape.
So we've identified two ways that he's got a leg up. He's done the salt save there.
He did the Jinyu trick.
And so he's not storing up salt early. He's just doing it all at once.
Now, interestingly, he has not put a salt over the ... hex on the copper chain, which Grimmy did do.
Yeah, I guess he just realized I don't need to. Because he did put it at the end. So that's one of the ways that putting that at the end could have saved cycles, but
I'm definitely watching this and I'm still fooling myself into thinking the two piston method is possible. There's a bit more juggling here because the salt... Oh no, wait, there isn't. Yeah, you can leave salt over the projection glyph. Yeah, right, okay. So my dumbass was thinking he's going to have to move the salt out of the way because he's going to have to project the iron into iron.
You know, the most dangerous thing that could happen. Yeah, these next two solves have to be double piston. That was so clean. How many people could be that much better than Pentapig? Like, Shadow Cluster might have gone there, but two people? Who's this other person?
One of them was Winter 1703 at 948 cycles. And there it is. Second piston.
Oh man, I forgot how good Winter is at
area. I think area in particular was Winter's wheelhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm remembering that.
This was actually also submitted for cost, so yeah, this was basically where Winter's week went, because this is not really a cost solve.
Yeah, the ADG of the pistons. That's a bit much.
You can buy 4 arms with that amount of Gilder.
So honestly, that copper and hourglass didn't feel that much faster than the single arm solve.
It felt a little faster, but not much, yeah.
But now you're seeing the benefits of having 2 arms, because you can just handle those single atoms so much better. That Winter just piles it all up.
Wow, look at all that earth.
One would expect this is actually hugely inefficient, but we'll see what Shadow Cluster did. Spoiler, Shadow Cluster probably won this. But yeah, just get all the earth together, and then you get a lot more juggling, which is why I think this is probably so close. Like, it would have been horrible to see this lose to something like an optimized Pentapig solve on the track plus piston, but
that was a pretty
yeah,
clean
it's going
movement,
so
actually.
very
This
well.
is it was definitely struggling at the beginning, pre-storing so much earth. It felt like the solve slowed down, but as the earth cleared out, it has sped up again, and it is in fact about to slow down once more as it struggles a bit with this last output because of all the salt, but not much, honestly.
Yeah, because you can't do parallel translation, and by parallel I mean not in the axis of your gripper into pistons, I imagine a lot of that was necessary because a translating piston on the track can do so much more in its movements, but that teamwork, that's what saves you 100 cycles and gets you out, so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it does take a few cycles to get that last one out. Alright.
And my favorite ending for a puzzle, just throw the molecule into an arm.
Whoosh. Alright. As everyone has probably correctly surmised, the winner was Shadow Cluster. 770 cycles. Not close.
I think I got a lot of flack from Shadow Cluster throughout this puzzle. He was very upset about what he had to do, but look at how nice it came out.
770 cycles is not the world's most annoying area solved to program. It has. I've seen worse, but I am desensitized by modern tawny puzzles.
It is surprising how much programming 2 arms is so much harder than programming 1 arm.
That is a great point, actually.
Probably why people like AG, or I feel AG is a little more popular than AC, but
AG's a cool metric if you can do it, but not every area puzzle has an interesting AG.
yeah, sometimes it's just, it does become a tertiary race anyways.
Something like Film Crystal AG, that was a banger AG. That's like, yeah, something like that is almost more interesting than any AC you'll find. But AC races are always, they're never completely uninteresting because there are a bajillion different ways to program piston area solves and get different results, and you can always pick apart the programming a bit. That's why Jinyu is so good at what he does.
Yeah. Okay, so we didn't comment on it while it was happening.
Like at all.
Those elemental earths, the way those were arrayed was just, oh man.
Alright, sorry. Let's rewatch this salt handling, because there is definitely a lot less superfluous storage than what Winter 1703 was doing, like saving. There is a lot of saving up the earth atoms, but what I like about what Shadow Cluster's done here, his salt stick is actually 8 hexes long, because his salt stick kind of overlaps with this with the hourglass output, and there you can probably continue using those 2 hexes here for the hourglass, from the hourglass output, for more salt storage. So it's mostly just clearing these earth atoms out of the way, and there's really like not much more fluff to this solve. He didn't even use the Jinyu method.
He probably didn't feel like he needed to.
Probably did not feel like he needed. Probably, maybe he missed it, but maybe he just didn't feel like he needed it.
Because it is a little inconvenient to get that salt on there. And it's entirely possible that he just found that it's faster. But what I liked about that whole starting Earth thing is, like, you don't want to keep your toys, like, you want to store your toys. So you put it all behind the piston arm using incredible input suppression. and he put all the earths off to the side so that when he actually needed them, it was just pulling off of an unused space. It was never in the area of active bonding. So yeah, very, very far ahead of the competition in the solve.
So this record, this solve, it did get genued by about 15 cycles. That's where the record stands to this day. So it was not optimized much from 2019. It more or less stood the test of time.
We'll see at the end if Jimmy put assault at the end there.
I wonder if that's what he did. I'll actually be quite amused if that's what he did. Alright, that leaves us cost.
Cost. This might actually be the most cursed, like even in a modern sense, the most cursed thing about this puzzle. Maybe Cycles is still overtaking it, but if my memory serves, this is a little messed up.
Nothing gives my brain the happy chemicals quite like a really fucking cursed cost puzzle.
Both atoms are dual input and it's all infinites. Ooh man.
What
could possibly happen?
What could go wrong?
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll probably have to start with single arms on a track before we get to that.
We definitely do.
In fact, I don't even know if we got min cost for this puzzle. We'll see. I don't want to overthink it, but
Alright, sorry, nearly ready. My Windows Explorer is doing the weird... I don't know why Windows Explorer of all apps is chugging, but it is.
you know, we'll see if anyone gets to this point and wants to say something. But I intend to switch to Linux at some point this year.
You making the switch? I respect that.
I'm going to give it a go because it's just, I don't want to deal with the there was a honeymoon period where I was surprised Microsoft was like improving things. Like if you look at Paint or Notepad, it's like, wow, they have changed these since the 2000s. But now I'm like, no, stop changing them. You're not improving them anymore. Paint got a little bit better and then it just got worse. Notepad got a little bit better and then it just got worse. This is striking commentary in the Opus Magnum stream.
I appreciate it. I needed someone to stall for time while I set this up, but I am in fact ready to go. Alright.
Let's do it.
In 10th place, Xavion. And we have seen this solve already.
Oh, right. Yeah.
This is Xavion's area solve, pretty much. Coming at 66.
This is how you know that the cost solve for this must have felt like garbage, because Xavion didn't even make a solid attempt at it. But that's alright.
Anyway, you get the gist of the solve since we've already shown it. In 9th place, Winter 1703's excellent area solve. This isn't that metric though.
Got rid of the tracks though.
We did. A solid 35 G's saved because we also saved the duplicator.
One of the ways that cost and area converge. But let's start diverging them.
Here. In 8th place, we save another 35G, funnily enough. Feindeer at 95G. And we're still using a piston. And we're actually ghost grabbing. Okay, so this does look more cost-brained, though.
Yeah, it's doing it all with one arm. There, yeah, we're at min glyphs. So Faindir, you know, instead of doing the area thing where you have to manage your salt waste, Faindir is just creating a waste chain of salt, which is much easier to do.
It's how the cycle. It's how heaps of the cycles puzzles souls did it.
Yeah, so why not? And yeah, it looks like the hourglass / copper combo will happen at the end. I will say this sort of triangle plus single arm, it is a fun, if you want to get good at knowing how you can manipulate atoms, try a puzzle where it's just a triangle plus single arm, not a piston, just a single arm, and minimize the cycle count on that. It's not easy figuring out the glyph placements and how you can make efficient motions and all that, but I'd say it's rewarding.
There's a surprising amount of depth. Doing trackful cost solves. There was a weeklies puzzle last year. I wasn't paying too close attention to the weeklies last year outside of my own puzzles, but Howard Jasper made a really interesting puzzle. It was like the design goal was to make the hardest possible cost puzzle that needs track, and it was a banger cost puzzle, and it's a really hard cost puzzle where you get access to track, but that didn't actually stop it from having a lot of depth, both in primary and secondary.
Yeah, I am not surprised to hear that.
All right.
So interestingly, Faindir is moving straight to the hourglass without making the other output. He's slowly constructing a chain here, which he's going to push at the end, but amazingly, we had no excess atoms on the board at the very end besides the copper and the input.
So that salt is all just being floated for the end when the hourglass actually has to be made, essentially.
Yeah, it's not a true waste chain. It's reused, which is good because the secondary here, I may remind you, is area.
Oh, but it doesn't loop because of the copper chain. Fair enough. Alright. We drop down 5 Gilder to Matter Monkey. So no more triangle, it's just 2 hexes.
Okay. 2 hexes.
And we have marked equilibrium glyphs here, which tells me that's all the area that's being used.
That's confusing because area looks like it's 81 right now, and the leaderboard is saying 190. So I think we're going to see some crush to dreams.
Oh, so the okay, so the equilibrium glyphs lied.
Or Matter Monkey wanted to make a monkey wrench. Who could know?
Kind of looks like a sniper rifle.
Could also be a sniper rifle. I'm going to say monkey wrench is funnier though.
I will grant you monkey wrench is funnier. But in my head, I'm looking at this and my brain's immediately going gun.
That's the power of polymers. Where does all this area come from? What did you do, Matter Monkey?
Okay. Our questions may be answered after we get all this hourglass created. Oh!
Oh, God
Sorry.
Damn it.
Of course.
Oh, it hurts.
Oh. Oh, those weren't covered by equilibrium glyphs.
Loading the clip right there. Oh, cocking the barrel. How do guns work?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh dear.
I think the safety needs to be turned off at some point.
Okay, so maybe those X's are salt waste?
We're califrabbing our rhythmic dispensers.
We got rifle the barrel before we shoot it.
We gotta
Four more salts to
deglorify
go.
the trigger as well. We do have to remember that part.
Okay, and he's about to press the trigger. 2 more salts, or 2 more earths.
Yay!
Okay, so it looks like it's just those 9 equilibriums at the top that were only placed there aesthetically, rather than to mark something.
I feel slightly lied to, but this did beat Fendir on primary though, so kudos. But otherwise, I think that was straightforward enough for us to move on from. In 6th place, at 75G, we have Larsdahl, and I'm pretty sure that means goodbye piston. This is cost. Don't use pistons in cost. Use them for area.
So when you're doing cost solves and you're still considering a track, long arm always better than short arm. And Larsdahl is showing off why that works.
Because
You can
long
just
arm, you
get
can
all your
reach.
glyphs.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but long arm, you reach over your own track hexes in all 6 directions. You can't do this with a short arm, so it is always better to use a long arm.
Yeah, that's really good. I wonder what he's doing. Oh, there we go.
Wow, there's some intense finagling going on here.
It feels almost disorganized, but there is a lot that you have to manage here once you get into long arm business. This is why the area has gone up to 465, because we're just getting these waist chains swinging around. I don't think we're at min yet still. We'll probably drop down by 1 track at most, or at least. But watch those swings, because that is what will be the difference maker.
All right, let's juice this up a bit.
Yeah, this is going to take a while.
This-
Look at that salt stick extending even more. This is proto cost. This is what they had to deal with. Though I'm not sure many campaign puzzles actually had cost solves that looked like this before the true mins were found.
It's actually insane how few interesting cost puzzles there are in the campaign. It's like Golden Thread is the only one.
Yeah, a lot of interesting cost happens once you have 2 atom inputs, but the campaign is largely just single atom inputs. So.
Yeah, the campaign kind of hates single atom input, 2 atom inputs. There are puzzles in the journal that like do later become interesting even with just single atom inputs. I'm not sure if the lubricating filament 40G or 30G or whatever it is disproof was ever formally accepted, but that's always, that one tickled my brain for a very long time, that question, and that's just a puzzle with 2 single atom inputs. But the campaign, it just never really eventuates except for Golden Thread.
Yeah, that's why people will often say cost is the easiest metric, but you have to put a star on that because
Yeah.
context sensitivity.
Okay, in 5th place, we drop down to 70G. We have Mr. Puzzle. And we will be at 70G for a while. Perhaps even the entire rest of the way to 1st place.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I sure don't.
So we're starting at 1384 cycle. No, wait. Area is the secondary. Whoop.
Yeah,
No, sorry, it's on screen. 460 area.
This is more area than Larsdahl, but we did save that hex, so that's all that matters.
I thought Larsdahl was going to use a triangle track, but it was just like a long stick.
Yeah, a triangle track probably would have been better, but he probably just landed on that design and that was that.
I'm pretty sure that is genuine waste salt.
Yeah, so all the hourglasses are done, so he doesn't need to worry about that anymore. Oh wait, no, he's just creating the waste salt and then stowing it for later. Okay. So we'll have another iteration of that in about 5 Earths.
Wow, is this lustrous syrup? That is not lustrous syrup.
No. I wonder if we'll see any lustrous syrup type tech. I think we will.
That'd be cool if we
But-
do. Some pre-syrup syrup.
Yeah, I think it might happen, but I'm completely going off of vibes. I can't think of any examples. Some proto syrup. Anyways, someone might wonder. No, never mind. I do not have a comment. Yeah, no.
I thought it was
that's
interesting.
very-
I thought it was interesting that Pentapig, who is one of the preeminent cost gods to this day, but in spite of that fact, has never really been that comfortable using syrup tech because it was after his time largely. I always thought that was an interesting kind of like tidbit. Anyway, in 4th place, Biggie Mac 42. I did mention she submitted to one cost puzzle and it was this one.
You could have figured this out by process of elimination, but I didn't realize.
No, yeah, she. in case it wasn't apparent, but she didn't want to do area because, well, you know, she's an area main. She needs to hide her power level, and she didn't do sum because sum was very area conscious, so she needed to hide her power level a second time.
Of course. So you see 2 sectors of hexes, or 2 lines of equilibrium hexes. That's because Biggie here is almost certainly just using 2 large rotational arcs. And that's what cuts down our area down to 320 rather than the 400-ish that we saw before. Now let's see these iron lines being made.
Those are some spicy intermediaries. That salt will just be debonded later, of course.
Yeah, there's one bond there that needs to be removed, and it is continuously removed as you move along. It'll just, you keep it there to not have to manipulate 2 waste chains, just the one. And by putting the inputs in such a weird arrangement, Biggie is able to utilize input suppression to allow these swings on the backside and not interfere with the molecule chain. So yeah, very good solve.
She actually got the copper and hourglass parts of the solve out of the way very quickly before having to worry about the entire rest of the solve the while. Or maybe relatively quick, considering the pace of these cost solves. Alright. Hope you enjoyed that, because that's the only time Biggie will be submitting for cost this tournament. In 3rd place, Darius 1. 227 area, but that cycles count continues to balloon out.
Okay, so this one's probably 1 sector. Darius 1 has placed no equilibrium to give a hint to this, but we once again have the inputs right next to each other, utilizing input suppression. Wait, why is he making the copper second. That's odd.
You already did his hourglass.
So that copper's just going to stay there the whole time.
What? So you just can't swing in that direction?
That's
And that's with, because he could have just put that salt. Oh, he can't really put the salt waste there anyway, because the input's in the way. But
so this infinite is translating. So the only, yeah, he's only swinging on one sector with the growing salt waste there.
yeah, that's actually, yeah. If this was a waste ball, this would actually be very area efficient. I suppose waste balls weren't invented in 2019.
It could have done waste ball, Darius. We'll see if the remaining solve still waste ball, but I think the reason why he did the copper chain the way he did is like it just didn't end up mattering.
Yeah.
Or at least if there was a cycle's benefit to it, he had already kind of committed, so there was no reason to worry about it too much. Yeah, that's a very good solve.
In second place, Jinyu at 78 area. These equilibrium glyphs won't be lying to us.
Who needs wow, look at that. Using the extra Quicksilver iron to extend your reach a little bit. That's a very exciting trick. But yeah, who needs a single sector swing when you could just have a 0 sector swing? And now it's all translation besides, you know, the finite swings on small atom or small molecules.
Okay. And now you get to just reuse that. And the salt on the end is still there. Oh. Never change, Jinyu. Oh, I wish he still submitted for tournaments.
It would be pretty good. I no longer have the stream. Could you flicker that for me?
Oh, wait. You don't have it anymore.
Yeah, okay, I'm good.
Oh,
thank you.
Sorry, I don't know what I did there. So I lied. Waste balls did exist in 2019. Jinyu was the only one to use it, at least for this solve. Unless first place also used one.
We shall see.
Of
course it's Shadow Cluster.
In first place, that's 2 wins on 2 metrics. So he had a perfect week. 10 out of 10. Shadow Cluster at 60G. He's the only one that did it. No track required.
2058 area.
Ooh.
Who needs 0 sectors when you can have all 6? You know, I understand why Shadow Cluster was mad at me for this puzzle. Especially when you're working at a level beyond what normal people are doing.
I can kind of see why he was mad at you about area. I can definitely see why he was mad at you about cost.
Like, this was still dubious cost in these times. I don't even think we had the word dubious cost around. And Shadow Cluster was still pulling this off.
So, one thing about infinites that this solve will take heavy advantage of is they don't require any access from the arm. The arm doesn't ever have to actually touch them because they can just be combined onto like a different molecule entirely. There are certain rules by which the shape of the molecule has to abide by. Like, for example, this copper stick. You can attach stuff to the ends of it horizontally, but you can't make any vertical bonds whatsoever. A similar such rule exists for the main wire, though it's a bit more jank. with multi-height polymers like this. Like, you can bond something onto the ... atom, but not the iron atom, if the atom was like here, for example.
Yeah, but following those rules, you just need to overlap the atom, and as long as you make enough extra scaffolding to cause that overlap to happen, you don't need direct access to the output at all. And now that the hourglasses are done, or one more.
And even that's already even just making the hourglass requires a lot of bonding and unbonding. No lustrous syrup, unfortunately. But okay, now for the bulk of the solve, and I do mean that both physically and literal and metaphorically.
Yeah, so it looks like we're starting with the giant iron stick first. So this is kind of lustrous syrupy. It's not a direct link between bonder and debonder, but... Oh wait, is he making both sticks at the same time?
So he will be making both at the same time, and just have this, like, I'm pretty sure, he'll just have this waste ball, like, at it, like, at the same exact time. I think, no, wait.
I think
I've got that wrong.
The other one. Or, what's his product on it? It's slightly blurry for me.
12 out of 18. So he's outputted the copper stick already.
Yeah, okay. So now he's working towards the iron. Okay. And it's going to be a similar process, except now he's got to stick a bunch of earth at the bottom of the big stick he's made.
But of course, more earth also means more salt,
which will have to accumulate in the ball. And poor Shellcusser, he didn't know that no one else was going to hit min cost, so he's going to waste ball this. And
to be fair, in regards to the area count,
if there's a way to do this in 5 sectors or something like that, that's incredible right there.
So I do have the modern record, and of the 3 main metrics, I thought this was the one that was going to be most worth showing, the modern day record. So we will see. Not too long. Actually, we'll see shortly-ish.
Yeah, because we're getting at the end here. But I'm excited.
And he has to keep the input suppressed the entire time he's doing this.
Only suppressing when or unsuppressing when necessary. Forming this strange DNA-like structure. If you're a modern Opus Magnum player and you're looking at this and you're like, oh, this is just like a regular dubious cost alpha. I've seen this a million times. Remember, 2019. Yep, and he's waste falling that. Or no, it's a regular waste chain. He gave up a little bit. I guess.
Actually, the area count's already hit its max number. It doesn't actually grow anymore from here. He's nearly done, as a matter of fact.
It's entirely possible Child also realized, oh, I don't have to worry about it. And then, bam, done. And then slam it.
And he did not make this shit loop. I think, God, this would have been such a pain in the ass to program. But he got 2 wins from 2 metrics and lost a bit of his sanity along the way.
Luckily, we simplify things in the next week.
Welcome back, everyone. There was definitely no awkward jump between segments at all. We weren't preparing anything in the background. This was a seamless cut. What I was actually doing was preparing modern records. So we'll go through the 0th place souls, but there's a few like other cool records. This is a unique opportunity we have doing a retrospective. We get to compare the records and submissions at the time with modern goodness. So we're going to actually jump back in, right back into costs to start with. This saves like nearly 500 area over Shadow Cluster's original submission. This looks like a different layout too. So I think this was actually like substantially changed. I don't have like the history of the record progression on hand at all. I might do that for future weeks, but this one is definitely significantly different.
I'm looking, and I believe this was Jinyu.
Jinyu would have been my first guess, to be honest.
It's a little hard to tell though. This might have been when the leaderboard was first populated.
Maybe it was like Rebix or Hello Jasper.
But whoever it was, I'm noticing that we're not taking up all the sectors. Oh, never mind.
Oh!
We still have
okay.
one unused sector. We still have one unused line. Okay, and we're just accepting the losses. So this iron stick might stay interior for a long time.
Rip line. Oh, look at that. Random equilibrium glyph. And one at the top.
Markers for something. Yeah,
Okay.
so this is juggling two separate chains, which Shadow Cluster avoided in his solve.
Yeah, he had the copper attached, didn't he?
Yeah.
Alright, no, they just got combined straight up. Okay.
No longer useful.
It's only, if I pause it real quick, it's only there are two bonds joining the whole thing together, and they look easily detachable. So that might get unbonded at one point. So this is very similar to how Shadow Cluster did it.
Yeah, just connect the shape.
Oh! This is bent at a different angle, so it doesn't swing out as far.
Oh yeah, it has a reduced effective radius.
That's where I'm willing to bet that's where the 500 area is. Alright, so it's already used all the area it's gonna use. That 1597 number is final, and it's just a smaller radius because the stick is now bent.
There you go.
There you go. That is so that's where the record stands to this day. Obviously, I don't think Shadow Cluster gave much thought into the area optimal. I think he just wanted to get min because holy shit, what a difficult min. I want to say this got Jinyu'd.
Yeah, I am merely looking at the Discord submission history, so that is where I'm finding these records when they are improved. So if I can't find anything, that's why.
Okay, so this is Biggie's winning cycle solve, but cost optimal. So this is a pretty important track loop. This remains completely unchanged, but this machinery is cheaper. Length 2 hex arm now instead of length 1, and there is only 2 or 3. There's only 3 bonding stations now. A lot less bonders, less arms, less machinery overall. It has been, I think, 160 G got cut from Biggie's original design.
Yeah, Biggie was at 995, and this is, quite a bit.
Yeah,
Jinyu
835.
has been improving this as recently as 2024, so, in 2 big optimization loops. So clearly he's had interest in getting this down even lower. And a nice arm-to-arm crash at the end.
It's just arm 1, just taking no prisoners. Alright, and this is Shadow Cluster's winning area solve. There are 15 cycles saved. So that's really not much. It's just like a few re-grabs somewhere. I want to see if they used that one Ginyu trick of putting an atom on the ...
So it seems like this was Panic that saved this.
Was this Panic,
Also,
really?
in 2024.
Oh, really?
It was 770G before?
Yeah, it was 770
Or-
cycles.
or
Now it's
cycles.
755. Alright. I'm all disappointed it was not the Ginyu trick. That pretty much means I'm gonna have no earthly clue where this save is, because it's gonna be some subtle programming thing.
Oh wait, no, it was Ginyu.
Okay, it was Ginyu.
Panic just submitted it for him.
Oh, when like the leaderboard bot got updated.
Weird. Yeah, I guess he just cleaned up the movement.
Alright, yeah, that's programmed differently somehow. I am absolutely not the person to tell you where. You can analyze the footage in this video to try and figure out if you want, but I'm not.
The viewer.
Yeah, that is an exercise left to the viewer. So we did actually check, turns out Upia has a script, to see if the Pentapig's winning weighted sum record had ever been improved upon. It is not. So in terms of that weighted sum, Pentapig's record still stands to this day. I do, however, have not that solve. That's for later. I do, however, have the modern sum record.
Look at that. It looks so much cheaper.
240G. Now, Pentapig's winning solve was actually quite similar to this. Pentapig had like 79 area, 88 cycles, and like 305G. So it's only like slightly quicker and slightly bigger. Sorry, yeah. But the cost has come down significantly. That's just because you don't use pistons in some.
It would never happen. It's
No.
generally impossible.
No, genuinely. You don't ever do it. Please don't make me cry.
You'd have to put me under general anesthetic to tell me differently. Okay. So, weighting in sum often does not matter to a certain degree. Just adding the three numbers together within a range of weights does not change the core solution too much.
Quite interesting, actually. I thought, when I saw that weighting, I thought it would radically alter the winning solve from the sum record. I just thought they'd be completely different, like, metrics, stratospheres. But this is shockingly similar to some. It just, like, made pistons good.
I mean, it's possible that this is still a bad sum solve. Like, if I stare at it long enough, I can get convinced that I could improve it, but...
You know, I do wonder if it is too expensive. That's the... Alright. You don't look too hard at the ratio, but the cost is 4 times the cycle count.
Fellas, could we get this one improved?
You want to talk about suboptimal sum records, ones that look beatable. Oi, this... I don't know. This is looking very beatable. Gee, I'd almost be as far as to say that one's ripe for the optimizing. Up for grabs, if you will. Okay. We have a few solves that just look cool and interesting that I plucked from the leaderboards that I'm giving a platform. This is overlap rate. I think this is... Sergi D is a famous optimizer for this metric, so I would not be surprised if this was his record. It's either him or Grimmy, guaranteed. Or actually, it could be Brother Mojo. He's a good overlap player as well.
This one, or like, was this OCG or OCS?
This is ORG.
Oh, RG. Yeah, sorry.
It is Sergi, yeah. Now, I stink at overlap. I don't have much insight for commentary here at all. Biggie was the
Fancy
original
wandering.
overlap rate optimizer. I do remember that one.
It's funny because a lot of Biggie's original solves have been optimized away. Apparently something about what she was doing was just overcomplicating the problem. Which is common for Biggie, but luckily that overcomplication means better rather than worse, so yeah. The central thing to look at with this sort of thing is look at those wanted track loop arms that prevent any slowdowns of the output.
Only Biggie could take a metric as complex as overlap rate and overcomplicate it. I say that with nothing but admiration, by the way.
I mean, there's like a famous math quote from a mathematician or maybe a physicist that's like, I wish I could send you a short letter, but I don't have enough time. Sometimes you need a big thing that is a little too complicated to get it done, and then refinement can come later.
I mean, it was a funny joke to make, but I do think it was a necessary first step because like no one knew what overlap rate looked like, no one knew any awesome optimization tricks, like the kind of stuff that Sergi D and Grimmy would go on to learn. Like no one knew that, so like of course you're just kind of like taking your best stab at it, really, with no prior knowledge whatsoever. That's why Biggie is often described as more of an innovator than a finesser.
You gotta have a giant to stand on its shoulders.
You do. Biggie is usually that giant. Alright. Unreinventing the wheel is a cool name for a solve. I believe this is the TI solve, but it's the one that loops. So specifically TI-8. I had a look at TI-G, and it saves 3 instructions, but it does the jank polymer output shit that looks bad on stream. So this is TI-8. This is actually forced to loop.
Can't immediately create any providence. Might be Rebix or Rebix. I'm gonna go with Rebix.
One thing I'm wondering here. Couldn't you just like, instead of these, couldn't you just like have this piston like, no, that's 8 instructions, not 6. I can't count. Sorry, yeah, this takes 7 instructions. No,
I wouldn't be surprised if there are improvements in this though, because the Infinity Rate Manifold track TI did not exist yet. So this was relatively quickly replaced by the funny finite solves. So there could be room for improvement here, but there is no TI in the tournament, by the way.
Sad. Devastated. And finally, the RI solve. Rate primary, instruction secondary. And RI is a really cool metric. I'd hate to ruin it with an abomination of a puzzle.
What kind of puzzle could that be?
Ugh. Be a hell of a puzzle, that's for sure. But no, for the most part, RI usually exists on this like really elegant kind of frontier.
Yeah, it's a very interesting metric. Again, it's more modern, so you won't see any of it in the tournament. But look at how you just gotta keep moving those products and efficiently in terms of instructions. It's nice.
They just go on a bunch of merry-go-rounds, thanks to all the multi-arms that don't need to reset for the really at all because they're multi-arms. Grabbing at every 2 cadence, except for the stabilized earth, which does not need to be grabbed every 2. So there's this like one gap here.
And it's all planned. I planned it all.
Yup.
Not really on this part, but I definitely knew that that you could underutilize that beat agent. So
This would be a pretty good thumbnail solve, actually. Might have to look into that. It is also the last solve I'm gonna show. I didn't miss one, did I?
probably not.
No, I didn't. No, that's it. So that wraps up week 2. I'm really looking forward to week 3, actually, because week 3 is creative accounting. This is a banger puzzle, if I say so myself. You'll be seeing more of it because it's about to be on the journal for realsies, under a different name.
Reclaimed gold. Yeah, I think this is one of those rare puzzles that somehow manages to have innovations in all the metrics. Maybe not whatever sum metric I chose, but yeah, it's going to be very cool to revisit this one.
Imagine if this was week 2 and the puzzle we just did was week 3. How many more submitters you would have got for it?
I mean, sometimes you have to accept your mistakes. We still got some very good solutions here, so don't worry about that, dear viewer.
All right, that wraps up another week. Thank you very much, RPO, for joining and for helping out in general and for the tournament and everything.
It's been no trouble.
All right, we'll catch you all in the next one.
Bye-bye.